Hello, hello.
Whack.
What are you doing?
What aren't I doing? Hitting lines is what I'm doing.
Another line ball. What's going on? That's not your club.
Tiger time. I'm hitting this because it's the worst grip
Ah, it's a shiny.
I can find. It's a shiner. So I'm collecting some data with a shiner because I've got this, look. They've sent me grip tape because they expect me to re-grip clubs. So Golf Pride have sent me some grips.
Are they new ones or something?
So these are some new grips, basically. CPX, designed for Exo Diamond quality patent maximum comfort. So what difference does the grip make?
Your grips are a bit funny, aren't
Yeah,
they?
well, so I'm going to do a test. We'll show you what I've got with these. Look, what I've got with these. So I'm averaging a ball speed of 150, averaging a carry of 257. These little numbers here at the bottom, look, 265 was my last carry. So let's see if I re-grip, if that gains any speed is one test I want to do.
Yeah.
And then the second thing I want to do, so I'm going to re-grip my irons,
Okay.
and my ring key.
Rinky gets
Because
the special
Well,
treatment.
because it gets used a lot, it's worn out a little bit. They're not bad, my grips, but they could be better. The one that's really bad is my 58, and the reason this is bad is because it sat out in my garden for a bit.
And gets used a lot also.
Well, if you sit, it doesn't actually, because it's a new one. This one, this is a tour rack, so it's got. But it just sat outside, and so if you're keeping your clubs in areas, well, in a garage or something, they'll deteriorate quicker.
Yeah.
Like this one has gone quicker than those, and I use them more, but they sit in my boot or in here. This was just outside in our, not in the weather, but under our lean-to-y bit.
Yeah.
I'm not going to re-grip my Freewood,
Yeah.
my driver,
And,
and my power hybrid, because I'm pretty sure these all three are counterbalanced. I know this one is for definite.
driver definitely is.
And I just don't want to interrupt them, and the grips are fine, and I could deal with that if I wanted to. I just don't want to, and I love how thin this grip feels.
Okay.
So it's a mixture of feel with a worn out grip test. We see if it makes any difference.
Yeah, why not?
Right, here we go. How to re-grip your clubs really quickly, and I'm not good at this, and I hate this. Ingredients: grip tape, grips, a rag, a knife, white spirit, and my club's ready to re-grip. Job number one, cut the old grips off. Literally scoring up one side, pulling the grip back, and removing old grip. Job two, remove, unless you want your grips to be thicker, the old tape. This bit's so boring. So basically peel back, get rid of the old tape because you're going to add new tape, and if you have more layers of tape then your grips will come out thicker. What am I doing this for? I would definitely pay to get this done. So with the clean shaft, take your grip tape and measure basically the length of your grip with, say, an inch left over at the top here. You'll see why that inch over at the top in a second. And then without any lines, make sure you put that down the line of your club. So basically the bottom of that is going to be just to near the bottom of my grip. And I've attached it just slightly over the top here. Wrap around before you cross over. You've got to peel, because this is double-sided, strong double-sided tape basically. So peel it back to then finish off the wraparound. And at the top, just fold that bit that was over and down into the grip. Now the really messy part, and there are better ways of doing this than what I'm showing you here, and this is how I would do it, because I'm a little lazy, but you could use a funnel. But I'm basically going to pour white spirit in here, and yes, I will lose some. Now white spirit's in the grip. I'm going to just shake it about. I can feel it in there, and I've plugged the hole at the end here with my finger, otherwise it will come out. Then with your double-sided tape removed, so it's the sticky bit, I'm going to pour this onto the tape just to wet it, so it gives it a bit more lubrication. And I'm just going to butt end my club up against the work surface here, find the top, and I'm simply going to pop this over the top, and with my club butt ended up against my work surface here, so better to do this in like a workshop if you've got one at home than my kitchen. Because we've lubricated inside the grip and the tape, I'm just going to push that down. Now with my rag, what's going to happen is it's all going to squirt out the top, so I'm just going to make sure I've got the rag over the top of the top so it doesn't squirt onto me. Important part next is to make sure that the grip is on properly, so not only the line of it, so that it's straight. What I'm going to do is just a few taps to hammer that grip home to make sure we don't get that bubbly bit at the top. Now, this is a key part as well. I'm just going to make sure my grip is nice and straight. So we've got lines on the top of our grip going down it and to the bottom. And just as it's wet here, I'm going to make sure it's all lined up nice and straight, so it corresponds then to my hands when I grip it, which we'll show you in a second. Oh yeah, that does feel nice actually. So we started with the chipper, and you can see the lines of the grip basically correspond with the leading edge down there of my club. So it's all nice and straight. You can see the logos on top. So if you've got any kind of ribs at the bottom there, where they should be, which is at the bottom. Now with that one where I want it to be, once it's straight, you're going to leave it to dry. So you got to make sure that you're getting it all lined up while it's wet, because it won't take long to dry. So make sure it's all wet. That is re-gripped, and I'm now going to repeat it with the other ones. I hate this bit. Right, footnote with my hybrid here. So this is a graphite shaft, so you want to be more careful with the knife. The other one's a steel shaft. So what I'm going to do is just peel the grip back. See how I'm just going to peel it back on itself. And then what I'm going to do with it peeled back this way is I'm going to cut onto the grip. Do you see what I mean? So I'm not scoring, and that's just going to pull off. Just step on the end and pull it off. So I'm not touching the knife onto the graphite because it'll scratch. You can cut into it. The steel, I'm a little less fussy. So all done, I'm going to leave them to dry for about an hour. I reckon 20 minutes is probably long enough, but don't quote me on that. And then we're going to take them out and see what difference I can actually feel. Right, what do these actually feel like? I haven't re-gripped the club for so long, as that video probably showed. It's ridiculous how much better they feel. Like, they literally feel like new clubs. Like, that is so crazy how good that feels. This, look, listen to this. I do it next to my mic. Can you hear this? Can you hear that? I mean, they are like sticking to my hands. And in the box, when I unboxed them and Matt looked at them as well, we were a bit like, oh, they don't feel very grippy. That feels ridiculously grippy. So let's talk a little bit more about what grips can do, because I don't think it's any surprise to anyone watching that new grips feel better and tackier. Like, that's something that you'd kind of understand and agree with, I'm sure. But let's think about what you can do with a grip, because I've used grips in lessons to help people with concepts, and that's the thing, because they're so interchangeable, and even though they're not, you know, cheap, nothing's cheap, that's all relative, but it's certainly cheaper than changing a club. You can put grips on in certain ways or change thicknesses and feels to achieve certain things. So I'm a very neutral player. I tend to play with very little shape, you know, little fades, little draws at the most. So what I do with my grip is I set it on in a neutral way. I relate it to the face. So I've seen Bubba Watson's grips, and his grips are twisted one way. So they're like round here if the club was pointing straight, or round there. I can't remember which way they are. But they're not on straight, which seems really counterintuitive for some people. They would think, like, why are they not on straight? That's just crazy. But think of these ideas. So we've got these two straight lines going down the front of this CPX grip. So they're literally saying this grip could replace Golf Pride, you know, your standard tall velvet, which is kind of anything. And I think that's a bold statement from Golf Pride, but I do think that these do feel better than anything I've really tested. And now look, what I like about this line is I can reference my thumb on it. So with my neutral grip, I'm getting my lead thumb here just down the right side of this line. And then my trail hand, so my right hand here, you can see I'm getting it just hanging off the left. Now let's pretend you've got someone who's got naturally a weak grip. So let's say they always want to put their thumb right down the middle of this line. And you'll be amazed how many students I've taught over the years who think that the lines, so that if you give them straight lines like that, they think their hands have to go down it, which kind of makes sense. Like, if you don't play golf and you don't know much about where your hands should be, you'd think, well, those lines are down the middle. surely I should put my hands down the middle. And yeah, you could do. So what you can do with a grip like this with someone, and I used to do it with training clubs, if I wanted them to train to have a stronger lead hand grip, I'd put that line round the side of the club. Obviously it's not corresponding to my face, so imagine the face is still straight, and then tell them to put their hands in that line. So that lead hand now goes in that line, put your thumb in the middle. You know, and I might do that on a few training clubs. I used to have clubs in the studio when I was teaching full time, which would be at different angles to show people, like, I want you to hit some shots with this club, just get your hands in those lines, and then off you go. And lots of them would say, can you re-grip my clubs that way? I want to learn to play that way. So the grip and the position of it, not just the feel or the tackiness, definitely would allow them to get their hands on the golf club in a more constructive way if the coach has a little bit of a creative side rather than just the natural, like everything's got to be down the middle. And then it's interesting things like this. So this is going to be my chipper, and I re-gripped my chipper with the same grip. So my chipper, and I've obviously re-gripped it with the same grip as the other clubs. And I say obviously, I was tempted with this club to putting a putter grip on. So not actually having this grip, putting actually a putter grip on, because I play it so much more in a putting style. So this shot, I'm basically using my putter grip, and it just really feels like a long putt. I mean, that just feels like I'm hitting my putter, but long. So the only reason I haven't changed on this onto a putting grip is because I do, and I'm starting to, who's that then? There he is, look. Monday don't turn up, Tuesday don't turn up, Wednesday turns up, we don't work Wednesdays. Is because I play it, sometimes I've got a 100-yard shot I play with this club at the moment. That's why I want it more to be a standard grip. But there's so much you can do with them. Grab that one, Matt.
This one?
Because we definitely pulled them out of the box and thought, oh, they don't feel that tacky. But like, that does feel pretty tacky.
Yeah, that is actually quite tacky, and I like these bits more than these bits, I think.
It's so soft, that bit.
Like in my glove, I don't reckon that's like proper grippy in my glove.
And I like the colours cool. It's like the grey on the graphite looks so
Do they come in other colours?
I don't know. They probably do. Or if they don't, they will do, because every manufacturer just changes colour when they haven't got something else to do with the day. So
any yellow ones for my driver? No, that's yeah, that is definitely a different type of grip that I'm not used to gripping.
It has to be a precious new grip to go on one of my favourites.
Oh, on your Rinky.
Yeah. And then extra layers of things people don't often think about. I've done lots of stuff with people where you give them fatter and thinner grip. It doesn't really change their delivery as much as it's been kind of talked about, you know, like release. People used to really talk about fatter and thinner grips for release, but it absolutely changes their feel. And when you've got people with arthritis and stuff, you give them a jumbo, so your really wide ones.
Because I've got the...
and it transforms, they're like properly go like, wow, that's so much easier.
I've got the Golf Pride +4s on mine. So the +4s are the same thickness all the way down. So they're thick at the bottom as well.
Yeah.
Whereas
so
these get thinner with the shaft.
These are taper.
These are thick at the bottom and everything. And when I went for my custom fit the other day, it was funny going back to a grip like this that was thin at the bottom.
Felt really thin.
Yeah, so I've got my +4s coming with the Golf Pride stuff as well. So
I like that.
That's different.
So if it comes to moving your needle with your golf shots, I would argue it would be close to saying, compared to what we advertise as tech, if you've got modern equipment and you're not like way behind, I reckon I could shift the needle more with a grip placement, grip thickness feel than I could with any manufacturer's same version of a low spin, medium spin or high spin driver kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's certainly something that people aren't really thinking about, because it's just not as sexy, is it? It's just not quite as, you know, a new club is fun. But the thing is these definitely feel like new clubs. Just imagine if I cleaned them.
Wow.
They made it into my kitchen yesterday. They were shocked. They were like, what are we doing in here?
Please leave the mud on me.
Normally I'm rusting in your boot.
It's still cold. Leave the mud on me.
And definitely these are the softest grips I've ever played. Like, they're crazy soft. And Rinky still works, so
that's a good shot.
Jobs are good. Do you want to hit one?
I'm going to hit one with your club, yeah.
What have you got?
I got a 6-iron.
Yeah.
Is that about right?
Yeah, just a 6-iron, you know.
6 at
See if
the
you bomb it
five.
like I do.
Perhaps I should hit 7 actually.
Yeah, that would be more like your 6.
Yeah, they're like the old Golf Bridie ones that Americans use, aren't they?
Yeah.
Those, I don't know what they're called, those ones, but they feel like that.
It's amazing how it can transform the feel of a club, isn't it?
Yeah, I used to change my putter grip all the time
Yeah,
just
yeah,
to
that's a
get
good
a
one.
nice new feel.
Yeah, nice shot. It's a good 6 iron, isn't it?
It pulled a bit, mine don't do that.
Perfect.
It's all right.
That one don't hit the fairway either. None of them do. Right, we got that Titleist club.
Yeah.
Let's go in and see if it actually affects speed. Because if it's affecting speed,
Don't want to give that up.
that's insane. Isn't
I
it?
can't give that up because you might hit it past me. Come on then. Is it any different? You've got a grey grip on that thing now.
Well, let's look at the numbers. Let me just hit one more to get a bigger data set. And obviously you would have spread days here as well, because I'm not tested on the same day. But I feel like I feel so much more, like I can go faster with it.
Secure.
Well, and this is indoor, like you go and put any
Grippy.
conditions on it, yeah. But I do feel like I can just smash it and it ain't gonna affect, like it, before it definitely felt like it was coming out of my hands.
Slipping out. That's a good
Yeah,
drive.
that was a rip. So this is amazing that it's 153 ball.
That's a change.
It was
isn't
150 ball before.
Yeah, and standard deviation 1.2, so that's a definite shift.
Yeah, and then the distance obviously jumps according to the ball speed. You know, it's up 10 miles, it's up 10 yards. It was 257, now 267 carry, and that's what it should be. It's like 3 mile an hour difference, so it should be around like 7 to 12 yards.
Yeah, that's just free. Well, it's not free because you have to buy your grips, don't you? But that's just free yardage out of just by refreshing some grips.
And the thing you got to remember, and this is quite an extreme case because this grip was shiny, but you've picked up Lessons clubs where
Oh,
they've got
yeah.
a grip like that. I mean, I've picked up Lessons grips and I'm changing that. Like, just you're not hitting that. And they're like, really? Is that any different? And you give them one and they're like, wow, okay,
Whoa,
yeah.
yeah.
But this is an indoor test. So this, I would say it would have, over time, a smaller influence in here than it would out there.
Yeah, like you put elements and
Any kind of moisture in
Yeah.
the air, falling out of the air,
Yeah,
which we get, like just the odd dribble rain, the odd bit of sweat and all that kind of stuff, like that, it would just make it, like that's shocking to me. I was expecting
Yeah.
it to be a mile an hour at best, because I definitely felt nervous with the other grip, but it didn't stop me for the test thinking I'm just gonna like
it's
go
hard as
for
you
it.
can. Yeah, yeah.
But if you imagine, if it was a tug of war, which it basically is, the club, you are putting forces into and through that club and you're pulling against it at certain points, you're like tug of warring it. If you had less grip to more grip, if you had equal forces on both sides, the less grip's gonna struggle, surely.
Yeah.
Crazy, like that's a big shift. That's a bigger shift than I would see in any club review that I do.
Yeah, head to head.
You know,
Right.
like for like, which
Yeah.
is basically this is,
Look at it.
it's
Go on.
consistent.
Get out there.
That's a 270 carry, 274 carry, 153 ball. Hang on, this club's really old, isn't it?
297. No, don't.
Technology.
Don't
or
go.
technology. Like if you've got crap grips on your clubs, just what you're doing.
Refreshing people.
Mental. That's so different.